Hello, and welcome to the virtual public hearing for the FM 812 project from US 183 to State Highway 21 in Travis and Bastrop Counties, Texas, and a portion of FM 973 from just north of McAngus Road to just south of FM 812. This presentation has been pre-recorded. This virtual public hearing with an in-person option follows previous public involvement outreach for this project, including a public meeting in October 2017, meetings with affected property owners in July 2018, meetings with affected property owners in July and September 2022, notice and opportunity to comment letters in November 2022, and meetings with affected property owners in December 2023 and January 2024. Thank you for participating in this virtual public hearing with an in-person option. Public participation is important in the transportation planning process, and TxDOT appreciates your input on the proposed project. This virtual public hearing is being held in conjunction with an in-person public hearing option. The in-person option will be held on Thursday, January 11th, 2024 from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Camino Real Elementary School, located at 2380 FM 812, Dale, Texas 78616. The information presented in the virtual public hearing and the in-person option are identical, and both provide opportunities to provide written comments and verbal testimony. The proposed project is anticipated to be programmed with both state and federal funds. Because of this, TxDOT is required to assess the potential environmental effects of the proposed project in accordance with federal standards. The process that is followed is called the National Environmental Policy Act process, otherwise known as NEPA. The NEPA process provides analysis of the potential impacts to the natural and human environment and helps the decision maker to make an informed decision on whether to proceed with the project. On December 9, 2019, TxDOT received a signed Memorandum of Understanding from the Federal Highway Administration that permits TxDOT to assume responsibility for the Federal Highway Administration for reviewing and approving certain assigned NEPA projects. This review and approval process applies to this project. The virtual public hearing will include the following topics of discussion. First, we will review the process and opportunity to provide written comments and/or verbal testimony. We will then review the purpose of this public hearing, the project limits, a description of the proposed project including a typical section, the need for and purpose of the proposed project, a history of public outreach, a description of the environmental studies that have been completed, a description of the right-of-way acquisition process, and the anticipated next steps in project development. Finally, we will review again how to provide written comments and verbal testimony. Written comments and verbal testimony are requested from the public regarding the proposed project and may be submitted directly online at the virtual public hearing website at www.txdot.gov, keyword search FM 812 from US 183. You can also submit your comments by email or mail by filling out the comment card available on the project website. You can mail your comments to the Environmental Consulting Team at Stantec at FM 812 Project Team, 15990 North Barker's Landing Road, Suite 125, Houston, Texas 77079, the address on your screen, or via email at fm812project@gmail.com as shown here. For this virtual public hearing, members of the public may also call the FM 812 at US 183 phone line at 512-655-9797 to provide verbal testimony anytime between Thursday, January 11th, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m. through 11:59 p.m. on Friday, January 26th, 2024. These instructions on how to provide written comments or verbal testimony will be reviewed again at the end of this presentation. While written comments and verbal testimony are always welcomed and encouraged, all written comments and verbal testimony must be received on or before Friday, January 26, 2024, to be included in the official hearing documentation. Responses to comments received will be available on the TxDOT website once they have been prepared. If you have any general questions or concerns regarding the proposed project or virtual public hearing with in-person option, please contact Megan Dutton at 737-272-7027. Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., or at megan.dutton@TxDOT.gov. The purpose of this virtual public hearing is to encourage and maintain effective communication with the public and provide project-specific information and updates as it relates to the FM 812 from US 183 to State Highway 21 project. Your input is an important part of this process, and we encourage you to provide written comments or verbal testimony on this project. Your continued participation throughout the planning and development of this project is very important. You are encouraged to talk to your neighbors and refer them to TxDOT so they can also make comments and be included in this process. This map shows the general vicinity of the proposed project. The project is located on FM 812 from US 183 to FM 21 and a portion of FM 973 from just north of McAngus Road to just south of FM 812. This proposed project is located in both Travis and Bastrop Counties, in the city of Austin, and in the communities of Cedar Creek, Colton, Pilot Knob, and Elroy, Texas. The project is 9.49 miles in length, and the estimated construction cost is approximately $145 million. Between US 183 and FM 973, the existing roadway consists of 4 travel lanes, 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction, with a 2-way center turn lane. From FM 973 to Elroy Road, the existing FM 812 is a 2-lane undivided rural roadway with a 12-foot wide travel lane in each direction, a 4-foot wide shoulder in each direction, and a 12-foot wide center turn lane. The existing FM 973 is a 2-lane undivided urban roadway with a 12-foot wide travel lane in each direction, a 4-foot wide shoulder in each direction, and a 12-foot wide center turn lane. There are minimal sidewalks or bicycle lanes present along the FM 812 or FM 973. Existing drainage is carried in open ditches, and existing right-of-way is approximately 100 feet wide along both roads. The existing FM 812 from Elroy Road to State Highway 21 is a 2-lane undivided rural roadway with a 12-foot wide travel lane in each direction and 10-foot wide shoulders. There are minimal sidewalks or bicycle lanes present along FM 812. Existing drainage is carried in open ditches, and existing right-of-way is approximately 100 feet wide. The proposed project would have varying layouts shown in the next few slides. The first section of FM 812 from US 183 to Pilot Triangle would consist of a 5-lane roadway, 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction, and a 16-foot wide 2-way center turn lane. The project also includes a 10-foot wide shared use path for both bicyclists and pedestrians. The 1.46-mile portion of the roadway from US 183 to FM 973 would be realigned on new location as seen in the map on the upper right corner of this slide. The next section of FM 812 from Pilot Triangle to Peterson Road would consist of a 5-lane roadway, 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction, and a 14-foot wide 2-way center turn lane with curb and gutter. The project also includes a 10-foot wide shared use path for both bicyclists and pedestrians. The section of FM 812 from Peterson Road to State Highway 21 would consist of a 4-lane divided roadway with a grassy median that would contain 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction. Some curves would be removed to straighten the roadway. The grassy median would taper to a paved median near the intersection of State Highway 21. Again, this segment would provide shared use paths for bicyclists and pedestrians. FM 973 would also have some improvements for a 3/4 of a mile stretch of roadway from just north of McAngus Road to just south of FM 812. The 2 intersections of FM 973 and FM 812 contain 90-degree curves that would be eliminated with the proposed project. The improvements would consist of providing 2 12-foot wide travel lanes in each direction with a 14-foot wide center turn lane. A 10-foot wide shared use path would also be provided on both sides of FM 973. Shown on your screen is a preview of the project schematics. The full proposed project schematic is available at the project website for public review at the TxDOT website at www.txdot.gov, keyword search FM 812 at US 183. The FM 812 corridor between US 183 and State Highway 21 is experiencing significant growth. The roadway does not meet current design standards, resulting in mobility and safety issues. As the area continues to grow and develop, these issues will only continue to worsen. Upgrades are needed to FM 812 to improve safety and mobility and to reduce congestion. The purpose of the proposed project is to upgrade FM 812 to current design standards to improve safety, reduce congestion, and to improve mobility throughout the corridor. For this virtual public hearing with in-person option, notices were mailed and/or emailed to elected officials on December 15, 2023. Notices were also mailed to community facilities such as schools, daycares, churches, and emergency services. Notices were mailed to adjacent property owners as identified from Travis and Bastrop County appraisal districts on December 18, 2023. The notice was also posted to the TxDOT website on December 15, 2023. The hearing update was also displayed on roadside changeable message signs beginning January 2, 2024. Advertisements were published in English and Spanish, as applicable, in the following newspapers: the Bastrop County Advertiser, Austin American Statesman, and El Mundo, in December 2023. The proposed project would utilize state and federal funds. Because of this, the project is required to adhere to NEPA. NEPA requires analysis of potential impacts to the human and natural environment as a result of the proposed project. A draft environmental assessment can be viewed online at www.txdot.gov, keyword search FM 812 from US 183, or in person Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. at the Austin District TxDOT office located at 7901 North I-35, Austin, Texas 78753. As part of the environmental process, technical analyses were completed to document the potential environmental impacts of this proposed project. The resources categories that have been assessed include air quality, cultural resources including historic and archaeological resources, biological resources including threatened and endangered species and their habitats, community impacts, hazardous materials, traffic noise analysis, and water resources including waters of the U.S. and wetlands. These technical reports can also be viewed online at www.txdot.gov, keyword search FM 812 from US 183. Part of the NEPA process is to evaluate impacts to the natural and human environment, including impacts to cultural resources. Archaeological surveys were conducted on 30 acres of the overall project area. No archaeological resources were identified in these surveys. Approximately 144 acres within the project area still need to be surveyed. These areas were not surveyed with the initial survey work because TxDOT did not have right of entry from the landowners to conduct these investigations. Therefore, once right-of-way is acquired, TxDOT will need to revisit these areas and conduct further investigations to determine if archaeological resources are located within the project area that may be impacted by the proposed work. Historical resources were also reviewed as part of the NEPA process, including a review of Section 4F resources. During the assessment, historians identified 2 historic resources and 1 historic district within the project area. No new right-of-way would be required from either of the historic resource properties. Therefore, there is no impact to either of these properties. The Historic District, the Emil Thur and Annie Nelson Farm Historic District, is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. The project would require approximately 6.78 acres of right-of-way from this district. The project would not have an adverse effect on the characteristics that make this property eligible for inclusion in the National Register of Historic Places. Therefore, the project would result in a de minimis impact to the Section 4F resource. TxDOT will coordinate their findings of no adverse effects on the historic properties with the State Historic Preservation Officer. The proposed project is located within a suburban area comprised of scattered residential and commercial development. The project area is comprised primarily of mowed and maintained right-of-way vegetation with grasslands and shrublands adjacent to the right-of-way. There are 18 jurisdictional water features within the project area that are subject to fill or dredging from work on the project. The project was designed so that impacts to wetlands would be avoided. Therefore, the project would be covered under a non-reporting permit to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Work would occur within a Federal Emergency Management Agency or FEMA mapped floodplain, but the proposed work is not anticipated to have an adverse impact to the floodplain. The project is not anticipated to have an impact on Edwards Aquifer or any federally listed threatened or endangered species. TxDOT conducted a community impacts analysis for the proposed project. Even with the proposed widening of FM 812, access would be improved by the construction of the new location roadway and by the pedestrian and bicycle accommodations. Spanish-speaking populations in the project area are accommodated during public involvement. 3 residential and 8 non-residential structures would be displaced as a result of the proposed improvements, and 6 residential properties would be potentially impacted. Travel times are anticipated to be improved for most users throughout the corridor, though some users would experience increases in travel times due to the median. Access would remain to all adjacent properties and community facilities. Impacts are not expected to be disproportionately high or adverse as a result of the proposed project. TxDOT also conducted a traffic noise analysis as part of the environmental process. The analysis concluded that the proposed improvements would result in traffic noise impacts to 43 receivers, including residential and commercial properties. The noise analysis determined noise abatement measures in the form of noise barriers were not reasonable or feasible and are not proposed for this project. Additionally, as part of the NEPA process, hazardous materials and air quality concerns were analyzed. During the hazardous materials review, 5 bridges and various potentially displaced structures may contain asbestos. Inspections of these structures will comply with federal and state regulations, and mitigation would be addressed during construction for the bridges or during right-of-way acquisition for the building. Utility relocations would be required as part of the proposed project. These would be handled by the individual utility companies so that no substantial interruptions in service would occur. No other hazardous materials were identified. Air quality was also reviewed. No impacts to air quality are anticipated as a result of the proposed project. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, anticipates that due to vehicle and fuel regulations, mobile source air toxics will reduce over time from the levels they are today. All technical reports summarized in this presentation can be reviewed online at www.txdot.gov, keyword search, FM 812 at US 183. The proposed project would require approximately 174 acres of new right-of-way and 2.4 acres of permanent easements. Potential displacements include 3 residences, and 6 residential properties would be potentially impacted. In addition, 8 non-residential structures would be displaced. Once environmental clearance has been obtained and the project has been fully authorized, TxDOT would begin the right-of-way acquisition process. All right-of-way acquisition would be done in accordance with the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970, commonly referred to as the Uniform Act. Brochures including the purchase of right-of-way, relocation assistance, and the landowner's Bill of Rights are available for you on the public hearing website at www.txdot.gov, keyword search FM 812 from US 183, or on the web address shown on your screen. These documents contain detailed information on the process and requirements for appraisal and negotiations, as well as detailed information to inform you of your rights as a property owner. In all cases, the property owner would be reimbursed for any reasonable incidental expenses necessary included in transferring the title of the acquired property to the state. If you have questions about the right-of-way acquisition process, please call the TxDOT Austin District Office at 737-272-7027. Note that right-of-way needs are subject to change pending further design refinements. The FM 812 from US 183 to State Highway 21 project timeline is contingent upon funding, right-of-way acquisition, and utility relocations, and as such, dates are subject to change. The proposed project does not currently have construction funding, but TxDOT is actively seeking funds to advance the project to construction. This timeline shows where we are in the overall project process. The first public meeting was held in October 2017, and several meetings with affected property owners were held at various times between July 2022 and October 2023. The schematic is currently in development and is anticipated to be completed this spring. After today's public hearing, the comments will be compiled and incorporated into the environmental document and reviewed by the project team. An environmental decision is anticipated by spring of 2024, and final design plans should be finalized as right-of-way acquisition begins shortly after the environmental decision. Construction is anticipated to begin as early as 2028 and is expected to take approximately 2 years to complete. However, all dates are subject to change based on final design and construction methods. Written comments and verbal testimony are requested from the public regarding the proposed project and may be submitted directly online at the virtual public hearing website at www.TxDOT.gov. Keyword search FM 812 from US 183. You can also submit your comments by email or mail by filling out the comment card available on the project website. You can mail your comments to the Environmental Consulting Team at Stantec at FM 812 Project Team, 15990 North Barker's Landing Road, Suite 125, Houston, Texas 77079, the address on your screen, or via email at fm812project@gmail.com as shown here. For this virtual public hearing, members of the public may also call the FM 812 at US 183 phone line at 512-655-9797. to provide verbal testimony anytime between Thursday, January 11th, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m. through 11:59 p.m. on Friday, January 26, 2024. While written comments and verbal testimony are always welcomed and encouraged, all written comments and verbal testimony must be received on or before Friday, January 26, 2024, to be included in the official hearing documentation. Responses to comments received will be available on the TxDOT website once they have been prepared. If you have any general questions or concerns regarding the proposed project or virtual public hearing with in-person option, please contact Megan Dutton at 737-272-7027, Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., or at megan.dutton@TxDOT.gov. November 7th, 2000 was the last deathless day on roadways in Texas. That means for over 2 decades at least one person has died every single day. We all have a part to play to change that. This message is that reminder, to end the streak of deaths on Texas highways. We need drivers and passengers to act more responsibly and help us reach our goal of 0 deaths by 2050. Texans can play a major role in ending fatal crashes with a few simple driving habits. Wear seatbelts, drive the speed limit, put away the phone and other distractions, and never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So please do your part and share this message with your friends and family. The public hearing materials are available for viewing at www.TxDOT.gov. Enter keywords FM 812 from US 183. Thank you for participating in the FM 812 from US 183 to State Highway 21 virtual public hearing with an in-person option. Please remember to submit your comments by Friday, January 26, 2024.